All right.
Laughing.
Recording is started. Okay. So, in the last episode, we wrapped up the first quest, which happened to only take 10 episodes, 20 episodes? I'm not keeping track. But this quick synopsis of the last one. The group of adventurers have basically found a sense of heroism in the region of Elith. They have sort of made a little bit of a name for themselves by helping out the lady, by sort of avenging the death of the Lord. They've found a few strange happenings with dwarves. They've sealed off an old pit in the ground where some strange temple was set up. And at this point in time, the next thing that they have for a clue of what to do is they want to track down the dwarves and a mysterious elven lady who happen to be held up in Rawlid, where a certain warjack, the dwarven leader, seems to be. Strange stories of what is going on with Shinzi and all that stuff is out there as well. But the last note we ended on was the party having a night of jubilance amongst the commoners at the old tavern in Cheerwallow. But the way we're going to start this off is, first and foremost, let's roll initiative real quick.
Uh-oh.
Ooh. Goddamn. That's a 21 for Karsken.
5.
19?
I got a 13.
Okay. So with that, Karsken awakens in a strange location. The walls are marble, and the ceilings are vaulted high up in almost a cathedral-like sort of setup. Strange stone pillars reach up to the ceiling in intervals that are very evenly paced, and the only sound that you can hear, apart from the sound of metal boots clicking on marble floors, is the sound of a low, rolling chanting noise of people chanting in the common tongue, chanting out a name that you can only recognize as Emperor Ferilius. As you are being moved down this hallway, you start to develop some sense in the drowsiness, and you feel your thoughts coming back to you slowly over time as you recognize that you're actually awake in all this, and you're feeling your senses come back to you slowly but surely, and recognize the sense of the weight of your own feet as you're being dragged by your arms down this hall. As you look at your captors, you look to the left and to the right and see a couple of men wearing shining plate mail, each of them in a shining white platinum form with large white capes and hoods over their faces as to keep themselves from any sort of facial recognition whatsoever. Both of them dragging you down this way or holding you with a strong, strong grip, but it doesn't seem like that grip's all that necessary. As you look down before you, you can see a torch-lit altar in the center of this chamber where it seems to bulge out in a circular shape, and before you is a large basin, marble basin filled with blood. And as you are slowly being dragged to this hall, you feel absolutely no sense of strength to your limbs, no strength to your body. You have just enough strength to keep your head up. And as you blink slowly but surely, with each damning blink, you see as you look back and forth at your limbs that every time you blink, for some reason, you see a different looking limb. Each time you close your eyes and open, it's as if you were born into a new body. Sometimes you open your eyes and you see human limbs, average size, sometimes muscular, sometimes not so much. Sometimes you see feminine forms, sometimes you see masculine forms. Sometimes they look closer to reptilian, but never once do you actually see yourself. And as you're dragged down to this pit and lowered before this bloody basin, you look in and you see a group of heads slowly bulge up in the blood before you and revolve around like apples bulbing in a bowl of water. And as they bounce around, one last call says, "All hail the coming of Emperor Ferilius." And everything goes black as your head plunks into the dish. And next we had Grus. In a very similar fashion, Grus wakes up face down on cold, wet stone. And as you kind of feel your fingers kneading at the ground before you, you feel small pebbles and dirt and eroded stone sort of ground down to a fine mince paste. So you feel like this really muddy texture. And as you're sitting there with your hands faced, palm down, you sense this weird sense of beholdenness where you feel almost like compelled to be in this posture, this face down, knees bent, and you're just like absolutely held down by a force you can't even explain or understand. And as you slowly but surely feel this sensation of like waves coming through this lightless chamber, all of a sudden all becomes too clear to you as your senses awaken, and you are immediately abruptly lifted up by some strange and unseen force, as if your spine itself springs back open, and with a crunch you lurch straight up and notice all the other people around you, hundreds of people in a circular chamber facing towards the center, where a large greenish glowing dome has within it a strange grayish pinkish mass that just sort of sits and floats in this big aquatic chamber. And you feel these waves of energy sort of percolating all of the nodes inside your skin, all the blood in your stream. And as you look at everybody around you with what ability you have to move your eyes around, your whole body paralyzed in one form, you look and you can see slowly that your own torso doesn't seem to be the stature of a Svirfneblin gnome. And as you blink slowly under paralyzed pain, you recognize your height change, and you blink again and your height changes, and you feel this strange sensation as you look around and notice, as you start to have your heart beat uncontrollably, strange black hooded figures descend from the cavernous ceilings above you as they drift slowly down, and they kind of take on this strange looking geometry in a 3D like prismatic shape in the middle of this chamber above the dome. And with one fell swoop, a tsunami of kinetic energy, psychonetic energy just washes over you and everybody else, and you hear the snapping of 100 twigs as you fade into blackness with your back snapped in half. And then finally, Vireen,
Wait,
the smell
is
of
Jasper
brimstone.
there?
Every time you blink, there's a different kind of rock.
But they're all
Sometimes-
stupid and annoying and interrupting me. But anyway,
I needed to know.
So Vireen, the smell of brimstone is the waking pleasure that you sense, and you see dark clouds above, but you see beyond you the sense you smell like this weird salty smell in the air, as if everything around you is this weird volcanic and sort of like sea wind drifted mass. And you look around with what strength you have, only to recognize that you've come to the smell, and you feel your body sort of held in place, a prisoner from forces from 5 different points, each one like some sort of an ogre just pressing on you as hard as they can from all different directions. You look around and see 5 different columns standing up equidistant from one another, you in the center of this perverse sort of pentagram of force, and standing in the middle, you stand there floating off the ground with intense pain. As you notice each one of these pillars begins to hum with some strange form of energy, somebody shouts out in Draconic from in between 2 of the columns. Somebody joins in from another position, and another, and another, and in a strange tongue that seems to hark back to the oldest languages of all creation, you feel this sense of power start to run through you, as if you yourself are becoming something of a lightning rod. Each of these 5 pillars hums and vibrates with a bright, sheened color, blue, green, red, one that even glows in this strange blackness. And all of a sudden, all of these things just continue to vibrate and hum, and you feel yourself start to take on this unwieldy power of magic, and you feel your body seem to take on this form that you could never even imagine. You think twice as fast, you feel such a potential for energy, as if with one flick of the wrist you could demolish a home. With one crack of your arm, you could blow up an entire city. And all of a sudden, as you look down at yourself and see your hands, you see your veins start to like turn to a blackish color, and you see your skin as you blink over and over, looking in disbelief at this pain, that your form does as well take on multiple forms. And you look and you see a dwarf, you see an elf, you see all these different races and forms, and finally, one figure steps forward, an all black plate mail, and he steps forward and looks onto you, and he says, "This will not do," and your head explodes as you are bathed in blackness. Percy awakens inside of his bedroom to the sound of running water. So you're just in the tavern, you wake up to the sound of like rushing water, as if somebody just dumped a full Rubbermaid bin on the floor of water, and it seems to be coming from under your door.
I'll shoot up and head out of the room and check out what's going on.
So as you jump up and look beside you to where the door is, you can see black inky water is just pummeling through and just forcing itself in as if something's coming in. As you turn around quick to look behind you and see the window, behind you is blackness as well, and you see the glass start to crack slowly but surely over time. As the window sort of cracks and smashes in, all of this black liquidy form seems to be just enveloping the walls. And as you look around, the only one thing untouched and floating in the room happens to be the bed. And as you quickly dart to leap back onto that bed, as I know you will, you are kind of sitting there on this little raft makeshift bed form, and you start looking around really quickly to see what's going on. And the black form on the wall seems to kind of vibrate with this intense humming sound. But as you look at all the furnishings in the room, nothing seems to be vibrating or shaking under anything other than the strange liquidy rhythms of the movement of this liquid inside the room. But this room is nearly full with just like an alcove saved for you separate. And as you sit here floating on this little raft and looking into the blackness, you sense something is there within it. And something calls out and says, "You are not ready." And all of a sudden, you see 3 other forms kind of float out of the blackness. And you see Vireen and Grus and Karsken all sort of bob up out of the blackness somehow. And you see all of them in this fitful state of like paralyzed panic, none of them with their eyes open, as if going through some sort of nightmarish pain. And it says, "We will meet again, and you will understand. You have a role in all of this. You do not understand. And I cannot promise you will be the one to do this." And all of a sudden, you feel this intense searing pain in your hands, and you wake up in a cold sweat, just absolute racking, headaching pain. The only pain that matches it is the searing burning on your hands. And you spring awake and realize as you jump forward and smack your head on a tree branch that you must be outside somewhere. And you look around and see the morning sun is arisen just enough that you have enough light to see around you. And you can see a couple of squirrels skitter away. A couple of frogs are still burping and go quiet as you jump up and alarm. And you're just out in the middle of the swamps in your pajamas.
Oh no, none of my skivvies, man.
Like,
I'm
this is
gonna look
awkward.
around.
Percy sleeps in the nude.
My birthday suit. Whoa.
The only way to sleep.
So I'm gonna look around and see if I can kind of figure out where I'm at.
Okay, so as you go to kind of like pick yourself up to look around, as you put your hand down onto the ground, you feel this intense sharp pain as if rubbing salt into a wound, and quickly look at your hand, and directly on your palm is a strange glyphic symbol, and almost mocking that pain is the pain you have on your other hand, and you look down and see 2 strange warding symbols, both of them in a language you don't understand, but both of them having a throbbing, intense pain to them. Simple the glyphs are, but they look almost tattooed onto your flesh.
Is there like a water source nearby?
Mm-hmm. Well, swamp water if you want that.
Yeah, with the burning pain, Percy's gonna try and like cool off his hands.
Okay. Yeah, and as you do so, you sense that this must just be like the
Yuck.
pain of a wide open wound. You know what I mean? Like that real gash, like sharp pain like that. And as you put your hands in, it stings, like unbelievably so. But after a while, the coolness kind of soothes your hands a bit. Everybody else, you guys wake up at the normal time from fitful rest and wake up from a nightmare that you can't seem to explain with a level of headaching pain that just seems abnormal. But maybe you had too much to drink last night at your party, maybe, I'm not sure. But all you do know is that that nightmare you had last night felt way too real. And you have this strange, like, out-of-body feeling where you're kind of, like, getting used to your limbs all of a sudden, as if you held a strange position for too long and have to get used to your leg being the length that it is. So as you sort of set up and kind of, like, start to look around, you almost, like, slowly descend back into your form. So what are you 3 doing?
I'd like to roll a religion check just to be like, have I ever experienced anything weird and culty like this before?
I mean, you have been hanging out with Percy.
No. Alright. So I rolled an 18 for religion, just to see if, like, I would know if that has. I'm specifically looking to see if there's any connections with Lady Sathi. I suck at this. Sathis.
Yeah. What you can tell is this sort of dream is something that one could consider a potentially religious experience. One could say that this sort of thing could be something of a telling vision. This feels more like the kind of belief of like a mystic or somebody who has sort of a disorganized religious view, sort of spiritualism, rather than like an organized religion.
Okay.
Nobody beyond those who believe in like, I don't know, dreams as a way of actually coming to people. Nobody, like no gods come to people in their sleep per se. So this is very strange,
Okay.
but the behavior that you saw felt, I mean, you could imagine it was culty. It's kind of like you could imagine somebody murdering somebody in any number of ways. So the macabre behaviors of any cult, it seems like anybody evil enough could pull off whatever it was that you bared witness to. But yeah,
Okay.
was anybody else going to do anything?
I mean, Karsken, I don't have history or anything, but I'd like to.
Just
do I
wakes
know
up.
what?
Whoa.
Do I know anything about Emperor Aurelius?
No. No, the name doesn't even seem to ring a bell.
Okay.
I have history. So there was draconic chanting.
I'm going to need, yeah, you particularly, I'm going to need a history check right quick. Actually, yeah, history. We'll take that.
All right. 16.
Okay, so with that, the images that you've seen during your lifetime of this being are ones that are usually shrouded in one of two ways. Either he's given sort of like a Ghostbusters 2 vibe with the big painting, or he's given this strange dark prominence in a picture, or in other pictures, he's heralded as sort of like a triumphant leader. But no matter how you slice it, you recognize this to be the character that you saw that came forward and say, this one isn't ready, and made your head go pop. This must have been what looks like the form of Ryanel, the Dark Prince. So you just woke up dreaming about like literal like living Satan, and you're like,
Hello.
time for breakfast. Oh, barkeeper!
Okay.
Well, and then, so, are you guys all going to kind of just go downstairs once you've gathered your bearings, or?
Yeah, Percy's not in the room then, right?
Mm-mm.
Or
But you guys
we
wouldn't
all
know
got
that.
our own rooms.
Yeah,
Well, I
definitely.
mean, we were bunking together before, so.
Yeah, at this point, you all got
That's
your
what
own
I thought.
rooms. Okay, and so at this point, you can smell the smell of smoke in the air, Percy, and you can tell that it's definitely coming from like a direction behind you. And as you start to kind of like parse your way that way and start to listen in, you can hear the sounds of like morning clamor and like horse hoofs on cobblestone and whatnot in the distance. So you have a pretty general idea that Cheerwalla must be that way.
So
I don't-
I'll head in that direction.
Okay. Okay, so you start heading your way back to town, but then you come across some strange and evil visage, one that you've never really been able to deal with promptly in the past, as you see a couple of horse-drawn carriages going across the evil bridge of stagnance. And as you approach
Oh,
this bridge
jeez.
and take one step... No, I'm just kidding. Okay, and so...
I
what is
can't
the-
do it. I freeze up. I
So what-
choke.
How are you going to get back to town? Are you hurrying back in like a hubbub? Because you are definitely wearing basically underpants.
Yeah, I'm gonna be sprinting like my life depends on it.
Okay, people are definitely giving you odd looks, but the occasional passerby gives you sort of a knowing look, as if like, well, those kids were partying pretty hard last night. He's such a good boy.
Ah!
Just
As I
playing
run
the-
past, they think I'm crazy.
Just playing the power of love, like in Back to the Future. The background is your ding 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 ding.
Now,
Okay.
are you wearing those PJs that have like the butt flap that you button up? And
This
is
is
one of the
important
buttons
for our
undone?
role-playing experience, by the way.
All of the buttons are undone.
Dang. Everybody in town saw your bare butt.
That's the
Hell
power
Don't know how to-
of butt.
How do you button them on your own?
Okay, all right. Apart from the butt buttons, everybody else inside the inn, would you guys head down like normally, or would you stay in your rooms, or what's the deal?
Karsken's probably gonna go get breakfast.
Just shrug it off like, "Ooh, that was weird." So
Maybe
Karsken heads
eat and talk
downstairs,
to every people in the party.
and Grus heads over to Vireen. I see where the allegiances lie.
As I'm just like squeezing my rock, I'm squeezing Jasper because I'm not okay.
Karsken's not gonna bother a lady in the morning. They need their beauty rest.
That's my big sister. I wake up. I'm scared little sister.
Hello, scared little sister. I am also semi-scared big sister.
I had a bad dream.
I saw the devil.
I did not saw the devil.
Like, I saw a big old brain in a jar. And it's like, I saw the devil.
So I'm gonna suggest that we maybe go down for breakfast and talk to everybody because we both had bad dreams, and maybe we can.
Do you explain your
about it all
dreams
together.
at length to one another?
Yeah, I would tell her that I saw the devil and I
Well, you
heard-
didn't see the
heard a
damn
bunch of
devil. She saw the damn devil.
Oh, I
Joelle
didn't see the
doesn't
devil.
You saw a
I
giant
saw
thingy
my
floating in
man
a jar.
Ryan Litchi.
Oh,
His name-
I
his last
only
name's
saw
not
a bunch
Litchi.
of dudes.
He's the
No,
damn
no,
knit
no.
I
prince.
just thought I saw a bunch of dudes. Okay, well, so I
Damn.
saw that big old brain. And then my back cracked, didn't it?
Sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go to a chiropractor this week.
My only chiropractor's a rock.
Clonk.
I just jump
You
on
just
it.
heat him up a little bit and then just put him on you.
No, it's a cold rock, and I just slam my back into it.
So anyway, so you explain your stories at length to one another, or are you heading down before you do that?
That was a part of it.
I feel like as we're going downstairs, we might do like the vague, like, oh my god, I saw Satan. Oh my god, I saw the dark.
Well, I
Prince,"
mean,
and
you
then we're
didn't
gonna
see the
actually
devil.
talk about it.
Let's
when we
establish
go
this before we head
downstairs.
forward, because I know this is gonna never go away. if
Listen,
I
I've been
don't address it
watching
now.
Sabrina, okay? This seems very topical.
Yeah, and that's when he gurgles up all the foam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm on season 2 now because I finished season 1.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, praise Satan.
I binge watched all of it in like a week.
But
Oh yeah, I've
Satan.
already seen
put
all
her
of it.
name in
You
that
rewatching
book.
So anyway,
Oh, DM frustrated.
I saw Satan. So anyway, no, you did not see Satan. From what you know from history, he is known as the only one who challenged Silverhelm, the last to be one of the 5 divines. And so one of the 5 last immortals of purity, that is. And so Ryanel is the one that's also encapsulated in diamond somewhere out there in the Shattered Lands. You know this because that's kind of like what everybody knows. But this is sort of like big spooky stuff that people tell about, like the fire, but nobody actually believes it. It's kind of like the idea of, like, I don't know, Jesus actually performing miracles, where it's like a lot of people say that it actually happened, but there's a lot of people that are like, I mean, the moral of the story is the important part. So when people hear about Ryanel being trapped in a hunk of diamond with Silverhelm, it's like, you know, it's a thing people say happened, but it's hard to believe it. But you saw just the form and heard him speak. So it's not like you saw the devil. You just saw probably like the Pope of evil.
The Pope of Nope.
Pope was no.
Yeah, the Pope of Nope. Basically Satan, right? So anyway, big sister, little sister go downstairs.
We skip as we go.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, what helps wash off a nightmare other than skipping? I only came confronted by a living vision of the bringer of the end of times, but you know what? Puts a skip in my step. Let's have some eggs.
Pancakes.
What
You
about
don't
the
just
baby?
get to demand pancakes.
Ooh,
Like, be a shame if a
I
bunch of
just
boats
saw
went missing
brain in a
again.
jar, and I want to cry. I want pancakes, damn it.
Okay, so Karsken already went downstairs, and the innkeeper greets you pretty warmly and seems to be also rubbing at his own temples as you come down. He shouts a hello, but recognizes the folly of his actions, and he's like, and he points to a small pile of platters before him, and he says, "We did hotcakes. It was easier." And so he points at the thing, and there's a couple of tubs of some sugar, and so with that he says, "Help yourself," and he goes back to fixing some plates and whatnot.
Karsken and his
Ask it, you'll get it. If
his,
you ask for it, you'll get it.
hungover stupor knocks all the hot cakes onto the floor.
You're an ass.
Is that what you do?
Don't do it.
When you
I
go
don't,
over,
I don't
when you
ask for much.
when you go over to the small bowl of sugar, you can also see inside of there that there's some like ground up cloves and like some like really sweet smelling sort of dusty stuff in there. But seems like a pretty good
Yeah.
pile of fixins.
Karsken will help himself to like 4 to 5 inches of hot cake.
Just distends jaw and just
Yeah.
progresses forward. Complete. Okay, so the cake compactor.
I mean, he's not gonna like just put his face onto the pancakes, but he's gonna get himself a big serving.
okay, and
He
people
doesn't have to
seem.
get seconds.
It seems like the people who are in the tavern right now and see you do this and start scarfing, they at one point in their lives may have looked at this and thought that's disgusting or thought, what a barbarian. But now they look at it and they're like, what a quirky adventurer. So you scarf them down, and once you're like, tonsils deep on a pile of hotcakes, the two girls walk down the stairs, and Percy comes barreling through the front door with his butt flap open.
Ah!
Mouthful of
I need
food,
some
Karsken
water.
just looks up and like spits a little out and like, pancakes.
Yeah,
Butt
Okay.
flap!
I
And
asked
just
the-
Vireen's like,
butt flap.
Satan!
I asked the barkeep for some fresh water or clean water.
Okay, and so with that, seeing your hurried expression, he goes rushing over and grabs from like a large pot. He starts pouring it into a metal cup and slides it over to you.
I just use it to wash off the swamp water from my hands.
Okay,
Oh,
and
yuck!
as soon as
That
you
was
do that,
disgusting.
the barkeeper looks down and sees the black markings on your hands, which when I say on your hands, I mean they take up the entirety of the palm, and he sees that you're pouring it on there, and he openly exclaims, he says, "Oh my gosh." He says, "Well, I didn't know you had such markings."
I didn't until this morning.
And so he lifts an eyebrow and he says, "I don't know how much you had to drink last night, and I don't know who would have had the skill to be able to give you those sorts of markings," he says, "but maybe it'll wear off."
I hope so.
Does
Hope it
anybody
doesn't leave a bad scar.
Does anybody speak giant? No. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So with that, yeah, and so he just kind of looks down for a second glance and then goes back to what he's doing. And so,
I'm gonna go upstairs and like get dressed properly.
okay. So you rush past the girls, and the girls head over to the hotcakes.
Heck yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the bartender gives you guys the same spiel about how it's on the house and you guys can help yourselves.
Thank you.
Woo. Thank you.
They're all over the
thank
floor.
you. Piles of pancakes.
I feel like I'm gonna go make pancakes after this game now. I'm just sitting here thinking,
Yeah.
got this quick, I can do it.
So anyway,
She has the technology.
so you guys go and grab a table while Karsken stands and eats over the plate, doing that slurp thing to catch each bit of dribble coming out. Okay,
Just using each other one as a napkin, like
just wiping his face with a pancake.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the
They're
three of you
napkins
guys,
can eat. What's not to love?
pancakes, napkins you can eat. Paid for by the Pancake Council. And so, how does one get a seat on the Pancake Council anyway? Okay, so the three of you guys sit down at a seat and start eating more of the pancakes, I guess. And at this point, Percy goes up to his room. And once you go up to your room, you notice that your bed has been shifted in a strange way. and the room
Yeah,
smells oddly sulfuric. And once you smell this for one moment, all of a sudden it comes rushing back to you, and you get like a lightning flicker of memories where you see your three friends bobbing up in the water, face down and rolling over, and you just have like a memory of it, and you're just looking around and recognizing the furniture is in exactly the same spots it was in your dream. Just jump out the window. The window, by the way, has a small crack in it that has been shattered open. I said crack in it. It's a whole thing shattered open.
Oh, shit. Is that real?
That shit in your ear.
I just
a
look
glob
at
in
my
the
hands.
closet. Yup.
You need the Q-tip.
I just look at my hands and I'm like, what the hell does it mean?
And you feel a strange vibration in the back of your head. And as you look at them, you feel like this weird humming feeling. And you turn your hands back over and it goes away.
Well, not gonna look at that anymore.
Who needs bombs?
Hopefully that goes away on its own. Yep. I grab my stuff and get out of the room.
Okay. And so by the time you get downstairs, everybody's either moving on to a second helping or wrapping up the first one. And so with that, the party rejoins downstairs, and everybody looks some degree of uneasy, except for Karsken, who apparently has dreams like this all the time. It's just part about being a Dragonborn. Maybe you guys are Dragonborn too.
Saw the devil last night.
You know what? Fuck it. You all did. Happy fucking Buddha. You all saw Lucifer. Okay, so with that, so the four of you guys are sitting at the table, and it seems like everybody's giving you guys enough space and distance to kind of give you your piece.
So I'm going to tell them that I saw Ryanel, the damned prince.
Which everybody hears the name and they recognize him as well, but Ryanel is known as like the damned prince. He is, as far as folklore goes, he's sort of the closest thing to like the Antichrist of this world as you can get. Sort of like the most evil cleric of all time, the priest, like the supposedly to be the sixth immortal of corruption. But yeah, as far as folklore goes, you would need to have proficiency in history to really know much beyond that.
I had proficiency in history.
Which I already told you all
Is
that.
why I knew more of that. Okay, cool. Just making sure that I got to know everything.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have proficiency in it?
No, but I'm pretty good at it.
Okay. And so with that, everybody just kind of recognized the character, but...
And I'm just going to be like, yeah, I think something odd might have happened to all of us last night.
So...
Do any of you know what these mean? And I hold my hands up in the middle of the table.
Which is terrifying, because everybody just he just got a bunch of ink in his hands, and his hands look very swollen as if like these prints were made very recently, and it just, no.
Oh. Can I do a medicine check?
Yeah. Very good.
I mean, if it's infected, it's because of the swamp waters.
I crit
Okay.
on the wounds on his hand.
So what you're seeing is not actually ink of any sort, and instead what you see is like a strange raised iron in his blood, as if somebody managed to like make his blood inside of his hands move to the surfaces, calcify, and turn into like a minerally kind of like mobile fixture in his skin. You can see that it's like scar tissue, but it's just kind of like this crystalline sort of thing. It seems kind of, I don't want to say reactive to the touch, but like when you poke at it, it feels like skin, but there's almost a degree of like hardness to it. So whoever did this had to have some freakish ability to do it. It's almost like how like dried blood takes on that kind of hardened and sticky sort of thing, as if somebody just pushed all of the iron into his hands. Even to the smell, it smells like rust on his hands.
Oh, stop poking and sniffing my hands.
Definitely sniff his hands. I'm sorry. I'm trying to investigate your hands.
Yes, I know,
So,
but it hurts.
this
It hurts
isn't
so bad.
ink.
I
It
know
smells
it's
like iron. I'm sorry. But yeah, this isn't ink. It kind of looks like iron or like rocks in your skin.
I
That would
want
be the
to
best way.
specifically say, I was going to say,
I know it's
It's his-
calcified, but like I would
you would
describe
say,
it like
we'd
rocks.
say something. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, as if somebody brought all of the metals out of your blood to the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Do you want me to like kiss
Then-
it better?
No, that's not how this
You
works.
cut your hands off and then it stop hurting probably.
Just half a pancake hanging out of your mouth. I'm gonna kiss
yes,
it.
but if I cut my hands off, then like that's
No.
gonna hurt too.
Why is everyone just assuming we want to cut your hands? No.
It
So
was
I'm gonna,
it was mentioned, so I'm gonna veto that.
so
about the kisses?
I will cast. I will.
No
I will
kisses.
cast.
For what it's worth, though, the point
No,
remains
no.
that like the pain he feels is the pain of like healing, as if his hands are getting used to their state. There's no scabbing, no infections, no redness or soreness beyond what would be expected from this sort of thing. As if whoever did it did an in and out surgical procedure, and these are perfectly healed things. To the point that his hands might have the best health out of the entire group, because whoever
He's
took
being
care
a
of his
whiny
hands.
bitch.
Well, no, they still hurt.
So cure wounds wouldn't do. So cure wounds wouldn't do anything.
Oh, he's not
because they're
wounded.
Not like.
No, he's not wounded. It just stings. It's like a supreme sunburn, or like, I don't know, getting tattooed on your palms. Like, it's livable.
Is there anything in my herbalism kit that I could use to kind of help take any of the stinging away? Could I
Yeah, go
put
ahead
on
and
some nice flowers?
yeah, go ahead and roll. We'll say we'll put it at a wisdom check, and you can add proficiency for the kit.
Okay. So that is 19.
Okay, so yeah, you know how to make a pretty simple salve with like some aloe, and you manage to rub it on his hands. It's awfully sticky, but the burning sensation seems to subside a bit, and you start to feel like that glossy sheen keeps like that exposure feeling away. So it does feel like your hands are a little bit better off. But for what it's worth, it does seem like it makes the pain go away.
I understand that it's gross and
No, I
feels
just
wrong,
never knew
but it
you were
doesn't
so
it make you feel
useful.
better?
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna go eat pancakes.
Damn, you coined
That
purse.
is,
Next time, could you make it less sticky?
Karsken just looks and is like,
But this is great.
oh,
Next
nice
time,
surf, and just dabs the
maybe
pancake
you
onto your
shouldn't go
hands.
off in the middle of the night into the swamps in your underwear, you weirdo, and get weird things happening to your hands.
The whole bar is just looking over at Percy.
I didn't do it on purpose.
Didn't do it on purpose.
What is
What-
going
what
on?
did
SpongeBob you.
What did you put in my drink, Grus? It was you,
What
wasn't it?
do you mean to me? No. What? Why?
This is
I
the
saw
direction I
scary
wanted this
things
to take.
too. No. I saw scary things too. Why would I do this to you?
I mean, I
Even
saw
though you're kind of a jerk sometimes.
I saw scary things too. Like you were there,
And you were there, and you!
and you.
What?
Soldier boy, tell him.
Dorothy!
So yeah, guys, I had a dream about Ryan, the damn prince, the Antichrist. It was bad.
Call him the Antichrist. That implies that there's a Christ at all. There ain't no Christ here.
Whatever. I'm just using colloquialisms, so it's fine.
You want to talk about your cell phone while you're at it?
Oh,
What?
sorry. I have to answer this tweet.
Just a bird. I will not be bothered. Montague. So anyway, and he's like, chirp, chirp, check out Yung Grognard on Twitter. Totally cool content. So anyway,
Not a plug at all.
to my own okay. Yep, not a plug. No. It's only on my own fucking show. Anyway,
Anyway,
It's the only thing we're not allowed to plug.
Serenity now. It's third party.
Let's talk about Sabrina.
No. So anyway, she had bad dreams, you had bad dreams, and you had bad dreams. But Percy mentions
And
that
I
he
was
did.
there.
But Percy mentions that he saw all of you guys. And that's one thing that kind of makes everybody stop in their tracks for a second, because out of all the strange and creepy things everybody saw, not one of you saw each other in there.
No.
True.
Did I see like everything they were going through?
No, just
Like
them.
what they were seeing? No.
But
just
you could see
Okay.
them having fitful sleep.
Okay.
That's weird.
And mind you, it was the black inky goo that was in your dream.
This is
Does this have any relation to the inky glue that we had in that cave?
Yes, it is literally the exact same
I think
appearance.
so.
Y-
Yeah.
Yeah. Grus probably should have taken it out of my ear,
Yeah.
right away.
First of all,
You know.
this is not my fault. I don't know what that inky goo was. I did my best to heal you when I saw you in danger. I don't understand what else I could do. Maybe we should find a more powerful healer and see if they know anything about this, because clearly
Oh.
I don't know anything.
Grus,
It's a
that's
good
a
idea.
wonderful idea.
Let's call him Greg.
I'm very upset and I'm just going to eat my pancakes. I'm getting really frustrated and I'm just going to whisper to Jasper. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. What's going on?
Very good. Karsken's been quiet this whole time.
Yeah, he's been enjoying these edible napkins and everything. That's pretty cool.
This is
Yeah,
dope.
You guys ever have dreams where like somebody else? I do sometimes. Like you're like a normal person, not a big lizard. Those are
Aw.
usually pretty good dreams. Last night I had a dream, but I was a bunch of people and sometimes still a lizard. And it wasn't great.
And you guys
Yeah.
are getting
Dragon.
kind of flashbacks to memories of your own dreams where you took on many different forms as well. Except for Percy. Percy never experienced this.
Yeah, I'm sorry you all had bad dreams. Then I just put my hands out.
You did that to yourself.
It was potentially Grus.
It was not me.
Could have been
Next
anybody.
time your hands hurt, you should just put them on your butt cheeks and don't come crying to me. And I go back to talking to Jasper, and I'm just gonna eat my pancakes still.
Percy,
Very confused and
If
sad.
you don't remember how you got out in the swamps, maybe we can ask around town today and see if anyone saw you go out that way last night or something. Couldn't be the worst way to spend some time. Any of you guys ever heard of a dude named Emperor Aurelius?
So that will hit a religion check or a history check.
Ooh, baby, religion.
Crit, baby.
Ooh.
All right, Rabbit, I got a 14.
So that's a 23.
6.
Was that history or religion?
Yeah, go sit on your hands.
History.
And then what was yours, Joelle?
I got a 14 for religion.
Can I give
Okay.
the health action for Joelle's?
Why would you be able
Just
to
hit me
know?
with a Bible.
Hold her book.
Here's a strange... Yeah.
She looks up and I've eaten a face out of one of the pancakes and I'm holding it over my face. Maybe that would help.
And that's all Percy can concentrate on right now. Wait, what was the name you said?
I want to make sure I don't get this wrong.
Emperor
No, please do. We'll take advantage later.
Very good. Yeah, I already did that. Since I'm running this game with two different groups, TRA has two last names. You guys got the first one, they got the second one, so it's kind of murder for me to try to remember which one has which. You wouldn't think it's that big of a deal until you have to put content on the internet.
TRA Shaw, right?
Something like that, maybe. But and so Percy got the lowest number, and that was in history, or was that religion?
Religion 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with that, the best you know, Emperor Aurelius must be associated with the Alabaster Chalice, which is just kind of like a super religious group. And then the next highest was 14, and that was Grus, and that was a history check. Okay, and so
Religion.
Religion. Okay, yeah. So Emperor Ferilius is sort of like the standing pope of the Alabaster Chalice, which are sort of like hyper paladins. They are people who seek out the destruction of all things that they deem to be corrupt in this world and all they deem to be evil. And so they're like a holy order that's situated in a different part of the world, but they have sects that sort of travel around and do their work for their, for their emperor. And the Emperor Ferilius is the youngest emperor to ascend to power, but he's the current in charge. They are definitely ruthless. They are the kind of people who can set like a war and just sort of just call a war on somebody for apparently any reason they feel is justified. And it can be long-standing, bloody, and gruesome because the people who work for them are just fervent defenders of what they believe in and will die at any cost for their cause. So, yeah. And then Vireen got the 23.
Yeah.
In history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Did
historically...
you call him a nope pope?
I guess he's a nope pope, too.
Well, this one, yeah, I guess would also be the Pope of Nope. We got 2 Nope Popes.
So anyway, with your history check of a 23, you also know everything about the Alabaster Chalice as the group of paladins and knights there in their order. They do serve the 5 immortals, and they serve this idea of like the light, this general idea of like a saving force in the universe that kind of directs things towards positivity and salvation away from corruption. Historically, you know that they've caused more wars than they've solved problems. You know specifically that their organization operates to the north, and they have like this big citadel where they kind of operate out of. But again, they have enclaves all over the place, and it's really hard to get rid of them. But when they're on your side, it's great news. As far as Ferilius goes, he's been reputed to be rather ruthless to the point that he could be considered corrupt in his own right. He's the kind of person who, for goodness' sake, will do things that even evil people won't do. You know what I'm saying? Like how, yeah. Like if good guys would go and kill goblin babies, like that's just, it's just kind of missing the point of the goodness of it all. But he's just a bloodthirsty and ruthless leader of their group and has openly called out against many rulers in many lands and has kind of almost called out the idea of heritages as being a thing of the past and that there should be like one unifying force of the clean and everybody else can be known as the corrupt. So he's definitely a new age guy, but as far as his age, he's only about 18 years old. So, yeah.
He's human.
Mm-hmm. But from what Karsken mentioned about Emperor Ferilius, though, and do you explain any more of your dream after they kind of give you a rough synopsis of all this?
Me?
No, Karsken.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just describe that. I sort of just got carried down a hallway and then put in front of a huge pool of blood and had my head chopped off and saw a bunch of other heads floating in that pool.
From what
and
Vireen...
They were just chanting the name Emperor Ferilius over and over again.
From what Vireen can tell from the description of that altar there, the weird dish of blood and everything, that is the Alabaster Chalice itself, the most holy icon of their religion. And it is a device, which again, thanks for rolling the crit, right? You got a crit? Yeah, this is what happens. You just apparently pull up your Google fucking page for it. But you can tell that this chalice is filled with the blood of the righteous that have died. And one day one will drink from this and potentially ascend to immortality as well. Bathing in all of the righteous glory of everybody before him, they will have enough fervent power and glory in their blood to forcibly ascend as well. So, I mean, kudos, Karsken. You got your head put in it.
Hell yeah. Someone's gonna drink me someday. That's pretty cool.
I am feeling pretty parched.
But, yeah. And then Vireen, the one thing I will say from your dream that you might not have picked up on, but the fact that those people around you were chanting in Draconic and were dressed in black, you could tell very clearly that these guys look to be dressed in a Titherian order sort of garb. And these guys, which you know from personal experience, are, you know, like almost like religious in its own right towards their magics, and have an obsession with pushing the limits of their magic and kind of at any cost to see how far they can go with it. Sort of, I don't want to say the equivalent of the Alabaster Chalice, but yeah. But one thing I will say is the fact that you saw both Ryanel and Titherian mages in the same spot is not unforeseen, but it would be like seeing a bad guy aligned with Nazis. It's like, bad guy's going to do what bad guy's going to do, but it's weird to see them like kind of paired up. Not to say that Titherians are Nazis, but you get the idea. But as far as, yeah. Well, shit.
This is a
Oh
weird
shit,
time.
guys! I know a lot of stuff now,
Yeah, that was
and I also feel like I know nothing.
a real bad night.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, Grus made it back to the Underdark. That's good.
I left there for a reason.
And then they just pulled you right back and just sit right down. But, okay. And so with that, the party sitting at a very macabre breakfast, scarfing down some pancakes that somebody just had to have, the group sits there
I
with the
appreciate that.
idea of moving forward and potentially making their way to Rallid, perhaps. Probably find some justice for the Lord. So, with that, what do you guys want to do?
We should probably set out sooner rather than later.
Did you want to ask around before we leave about if anyone saw you last night?
That might be helpful, yes.
So, who would you like to ask?
Everybody.
Okay. So, are you going to be kind of like nice about it, or are you going to be like just running up to people like, "Did you see me last night?"
I'll be nice about it.
Okay. And so when you greet people inside the tavern, it seems like the majority of them kind of like clap you on the back and give you a couple chuckles and start to say that you were doing a lot of dance moves they didn't expect you to do, and you kissed a bunch of people that they did not expect you to be smooching. But it seemed like out of everybody in the group, you partied the hardest and kind of let yourself the most go when it came time to.
Yes, that checks out.
I am pretty hot. The barkeep says pretty much the same story, but just mentions that you went up to bed by yourself and that nobody really came with you or anything like that, and you were the last to go to bed. To the point they had to kind of like scoop you off the ground and put you upstairs. But yeah, nobody here recognizes it. But would you like to like go around the village and go check things? I mean, around the town and go check things out?
Yeah, I'll check with anyone I see like on the way to like where I was.
I mean, we know that the village posts guards at the bridge at night, so
Yeah,
might be
so
a
I
good place
guess
to
we'll
start,
go
too.
ask the guards.
Okay. And so the guards direct you down to like the local barracks where you guys can go and talk to whomever might have been on shift last night. But yeah. Okay. And so when you head down to the barracks, the guards that were on duty are awakened and brought out, and they seem pretty tired, but they see you guys and they start to kind of rub at their heads and give like a knowing nod as if they had been drinking too that night. And so they sort of answer your question with this weird sense of like, oh yeah. They're like, well, I mean, we did hear the sound of breaking glass last night outside the window, but we just assumed you guys were partying, and we were already kind of tipsy-turvy as it was, so we just hung out by the bridge and just kind of expected if anything bad was going to happen, it probably would sort itself out. And they kind of give a knowing look back and forth at each other, and anybody with a decent enough insight can tell pretty quickly that these guys may have fallen asleep on their post.
I don't believe it. Not these guards. Not these guards.
Oh, no.
Not my boys.
They were drinking and fell asleep. That's some good night shift right there. Making out like bandits, getting paid for that?
Okay.
Life's good.
While they're doing that, can I not go with them and instead talk to the tavern owner?
Yeah.
I'm
I just
gonna
wanna
be
show-
with Vireen.
I needed
Um,
to talk to Vireen and Grus anyway, so this is
So yeah,
Percy's just running
Percy's
around
big
alone.
solo adventure.
yeah, Percy's detective agency.
This feels good being by myself
Just-
right now.
Just the hangover, but everything wrong.
So guys, are you sure you don't want to come with me? Like,
No.
okay.
Nah, I'm trying to
Okay.
get us to go to Rallid, so
Rallid.
Rallid.
He just directs you 3,000 miles in the other direction. He's like, I don't know why she want to go to Rallid so bad.
But yeah, no, can I show him the map that we got? The little rough map?
Yeah. And he and he gives you sort of a rough idea of where exactly this is. He says that it is going to be in the northern reaches of Valminth. It seems like it's probably going to be, next to the hills of the, I don't want to get this wrong, Cheerful Winds, I believe. Yeah, but it's just south of the Dwarven Citadel. So it's pretty well hanging up there. It'll probably be a few days of travel to get up there, but he says that if you follow the main road all the way up to Ingvar, and then you start traveling north off the path, you'll probably find your way there pretty safely. He says, but judging by the fact nobody's heard of this place and he hasn't heard of it, he says it's likely the case there won't be many trails, there won't be any like wagon roads or anything like that, so it might be kind of hard to find it.
What's the name of the Dwarven Citadel?
It's the Citadel Delhammer.
The Citadel del Taco.
Ooh.
It is.
Can
the
people
hills of
stop talking about
Cleveland.
food? Because I want to eat every single thing that someone talks about.
Hey, sorry.
I'm
If
like,
you think
oh,
about it,
no.
pancakes are also just, fluffy
Just
tacos.
a pancake and then fold it and then fill it with whipped. I have heavy whipping cream. I could make whipped cream.
That's not a taco. That's
So
just.
whipped cream and pancake.
That's just a
tacos.
sad
it's a
vehicle for
breakfast
whipped cream.
taco.
Ugh.
It's not a
Put, like,
breakfast
chocolate
taco.
You gotta put like
Put
chocolate
instant
chips
coffee
in
on it, and
there.
it's like a mocha pancake.
Ooh.
It's almost a crepe, but
Mocha
you
taco.
really beefed it. You really beefed it.
Can we get back to the game? I'm getting
Yeah.
scared. Okay.
Yeah. So we got to go through Ingvar anyway to get there. And Ingvar was where we heard that the lady, was the direction that the lady TRA was going.
Hmm.
It's also where the leader of the dwarves is, right?
No, they're all in
Command or
Rallid.
something. Oh, they're all in Rallid. Oh, okay.
Right.
Sorry, I thought we were going to stop off at Ingvar and bang out some stuff, and then
No,
Nope.
I'm not banging anything.
No,
We gotta
bangs.
pick up our manticores, but that's about it.
No manticores. No manticores.
You
All right, so I guess we got to head
You
north then, guys.
promised.
I promise nothing. Okay.
Can we procure horses from somewhere? Does he know?
We have dire.
In town, he says, you're not likely going to be able to purchase horses for any reasonable price because you'll probably be buying them off of workers. He says, but if you want to wait a few days, you might be able to hitch a ride with a carriage heading up to Ingvar. It'll shorten your time traveling, but overall, it'll take you longer on a timeline to go in a carriage than it will just walking.
Cool. Slapping on my Fitbit. Getting ready to go.
Go ahead, Joelle. Go ahead. Ask what it is. Go ahead. We didn't question Citadel del Taco, but we might as well question a Fitbit.
No,
Oh, come on.
because Citadel del Taco has a limited offer of pancake tacos, and I'm not trying to question it.
The great dwarven breakfast smiths.
The old bricksmiths. All right. So, okay.
Just big sausage hammers and.
Does this mean that they don't have like a
This
Jack
is-
in the
this
Box?
is
They have like an
wild.
axe in a box.
Ooh. They have the best
yeah,
curly
is
fries
every
around.
fast food chain in this world based off of dwarven culture?
That's the only fast. Okay, I'm done with this. I feel like I'm going to
So,
get
we need
attacked
to
by
go to
a
the north.
dwarf Twitter account for it. Yes, north indeed, to
Can
Ingvar.
the inn can I give him some money to give me some like sandwiches to take on the road with me? Maybe
No, you'd
some
have to go to a,
pancakes. They
you'd have to
keep
go
pretty
to
well.
a you'd have to go to a provisioner. Because those sandwiches would not do well. There's no saran wrap.
A picnic basket.
But okay, so if people wanted to buy provisions, you guys could do that while Percy's wrapping up his loop around what he did last night. And so with that, the provisioner in town, he's willing to sell you a few days worth of food at a decent price. After hearing what you guys did for the fishermen, he's motivated and moved by your plight and wants to help out in any way he can. So how many people and how many days?
Well, I've already got 5.
I just imagine you go to the provisioner, I've got 5. Like, good. How many do you want?
How much does it cost per thing?
And he says it depends how much you're buying.
1 ration for a day for 1 person.
He says, I'll give you 3 for 1 gold.
3 what?
Days of rations.
3 rations. So 3 days worth of rations for 1 person. For 1 gold.
Yep.
Cool.
So you're not buying for the party, just for yourself?
Well, if I just do 4 times that, then wouldn't it be 4 gold?
You just said 1. Are you buying 4 or just 3?
I'm just trying to get his pricing down.
The shopkeeper's so confused.
Yeah, right.
Truly, like, why though? Why
As soon as-
haggle this hard for rations?
You know, Ryan, when you mentioned it the other day about her being the socially awkward character,
It's truly amazing.
it keeps sinking in my head how many things can be explained by this. It's like the twist in the Shyamalan movie where I'm like, wait a minute. She wasn't busting my balls. She was just awkward. The shopkeeper's like, why was she trying to haggle? And it's like, oh, she was just trying to buy 4 days worth, but every time she'd buy 1 and come back, it was like a disguise because she didn't want to awkwardly say she made a mistake.
Yo, that sounds like me.
Hello, could I buy another one? But anyway.
A bag on my head, like, hello.
Just
I'm
ask to
being
buy
robbed.
disguise yourself, but then ask to buy another one.
Yeah, once again, it's just like
Just Grus seeing her go in and out like this. Come out, rough her hair up a little bit, like, okay. But anyway, yeah.
I give her Jack.
Nobody wants.
I suddenly feel really calm.
Nope, no, you don't. And so, if you are buying 4 people's 3 days worth, he will do it for 3 gold instead of 4.
Cool. 3 gold goes to you, sir.
Okay. And so with that, Percy comes back from his investigations around the town and hears nothing from anybody important to tell him about his travels.
Did you see where I went last night? Oh,
No.
it's you guys.
Mind blown.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna fill him in on the fact that we need to go north.
Sounds good. Are we gonna grab horses or something?
No, we're gonna walk
Why?
because there are no horses in town that we can procure, and so we'd have to wait for a caravan to take us up or a carriage or whatever, and that would be a waste of time. So,
Probably
Just buy them
shouldn't have
off some of
told
the
him that.
workers.
I mean, if you want to spend all of your money on that,
Yeah, not to mention, horses are very expensive
How much would it be?
for an individual horse or for multiple.
For just one.
Just one would be
Off-
about 75 gold, not including
Oh.
bit and bridle, saddle, and all that jazz.
Okay, so
And that's them being like fair, very
Yeah.
fair.
I would probably know the general price of
Yeah.
that already. So
Yeah, like a horsey blue book value.
okay, yeah. So I'll just okay. No horses available. Sounds good. Guess we're hoofing it.
It's just one. But it's just one of those things that, like, once you get a horse, it's like, it's your horse. Like, it's a big deal to make that investment. So it makes sense that they'd be so expensive and hard
Getting
to
a
come by.
pet is a big responsibility.
Yeah.
To shake Jasper.
Yeah, Grus doesn't even feed Jasper.
You're holding the wrong rock.
No,
Sorry.
I'm not.
It's just a doorknob. Like,
I would never.
Chair clattering.
just a bunch of dead people in the inn and Jasper sitting on top of them. Like, Jasper, not again. All right, time to change our names. Move to a new adventure. Okay, so would the party head off on their travels?
No, Karsken is gonna stop by the general store and pick up a bunch of stuff that
Okay.
he doesn't have anymore. So, like a new bedroll for one thing.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys wanted to get something like
mess kit.
right, if you guys wanted to get something like a mule or something like that, you could pick one of those up, and that could just kind of pull all your gear and saddlebags. If you wanted to get like actual gear, like tents and whatnot, like that's not unreasonable. It's only going to be like 10 gold to buy a mule.
No, I literally just didn't have anything on my character sheet except for a shield and a bedroll. So
No, recognized. I'm just saying that, like, if you guys did want to kind of like pimp your ride a little bit and get some gear. Okay. But yeah, so you wanted to get the bedroll, which the person working at the general store has already heard of your good doings as well, and so they're willing to give you a bit of a deal as well. So, and you said you wanted to get a bedroll?
bedroll, backpack, mess kit, 50 feet of rope, tinderbox, some 2 torches, and a water skin.
So I'll tell you what. I'll just throw you an explorer's pack for 10 gold.
Perfect.
I feel like that's fair enough. He'll recognize that as you walk in tattered clothing with a shield, and that's all you've got, and you seem to be looking to buy gear for travels. He offers you just this like sort of starter pack straight from the player's handbook to make everybody's life easy, especially mine. Okay, and so with that, you walk out with a big giant bundle of goods, and the party all seem ready and rocking, ready to go.
I'm like a new man.
Basically,
New bedroll, new you. That's what they always say.
says Karsken as he blows in the wind. That's what they always say. What happened to you? I got clout.
Right. Well,
I'm
perhaps
somebody now.
Perhaps we should head out.
Okay, so what's the traveling marching order?
I still want to have a conversation with Grus and Vireen, so
Is it okay to have that on the road?
yeah, I'm just saying however we march in a way that I can have that conversation. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if Percy hears or not. I just want to, make sure
Fair enough.
that in.
Okay, so what do you think the marching order would be? Would somebody be at the front? Would somebody be at the back? Is it going to be just a marching square? Conga line?
I like
Moonwalk?
Square.
All right, what's the front row?
Karsken and Vireen.
Okay. And then
I'd
back
be
row.
behind.
So I'm imagining Karsken on the left, Vireen on the right, Grus on the right in the back, and Percy on the left in the back.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That works.
So the party marches over the Slothful Bridge and makes their way out of town, heading up the northern road, heading on their way towards Ingvar. You guys pass a couple of carriages on the way, marching through the marshlands, which don't seem to have brought too much moisture to the road itself, leaving the cobblestone for more of an earthen tone as the earth slowly takes away its packed features and becomes more of a muddy, sort of earthy, like squishy kind of vibe. And as you guys continue farther and farther on the northern road, the sounds of village life and town life seem to fade away and instead are replaced by the sounds of the wilderness, with various bugs singing their songs, various animals joining in on the symphony of the wildlife, and you guys occasionally pass a carriage or two on the way, but people don't really seem to stop, and people don't seem to recognize you as they drive by. But as you guys are sort of heading out on the road, Karsken sort of turns his head a little bit back and starts to speak.
Yeah, so I think I probably already know the answer to this, but neither of you two have a dragon, right? Like your magic just smells different, like I don't know. Something about it's not
Just the faces of every single person here. This is why the podcast will never capture, because everybody just looks so bewildered.
Yeah,
Except for Sarah, who just
I don't
seems
have
like
any
this is
magic.
normal.
Karsken, I have no magics.
You have tattoo magic.
Yeah.
What?
I have
The DM is perplexed.
scars on my hands. That's not magic. I guess it might have been magic when I got them.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh,
But probably not dragon magic. Right?
I don't think any of us have dragon magic.
Except for Vireen.
Unless.
Arcane magics are definitely the magics of dragons. It's just not the matter that she has been directly taught. It's just one of those things that, yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't
she
know
doesn't
no
have a
dragons.
dragon. Yeah.
I don't know no dragons.
But if anybody
Yeah.
would, it would be her. Anyway,
Kind of, yeah, that's sort of what
And
I
so-
figured.
I do
As you
know
guys-
someone who knows a dragon, but
but we
Where
all-
are they?
Well,
You
why-
all
You
know
do?
someone
why
who
did you
knows a
start
dragon.
this? Why? Why did you start this?
and as you guys, as
In the
Karsken, as Karsken's mouth begins to foam and drip smoke and hot cinders, he looks at you and he says, "Somebody knows a dragon." But as he's about to drop that line, you guys can hear the crunch of a few twigs in the distance. And one voice says out and he says, "I told you there wasn't an apple co-op out here. I told you that guy was lying." And they bumble out onto the road, and you see a group of about 6 people come walking out, tattered clothing, wearing leather scraps, each one of them armed, and they look out at you guys and they say, "Halt! You've entered the territory of the Bent Shiv Brigade. Drop your goods if you want to live." And that's where we're going to end the episode.
drop